All right. We got ourselves some music. We got ourselves some people in the studio. We've got ourselves a podcast. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Yet again, Monkey Business. It's your once-a-week trip through world of nerd. And as always, I am your host. My name is Chris. If you haven't figured that out by now, well, that's on you, not me. Also with me, as always, Billy DeTore.
Hello.
Tanya Metris.
Hi.
Tony Bacchetta.
Hey-o.
Great Wayne Brown.
Hey.
And with us again, Jason Hilton.
That's me.
That's you. You the man. Today...
No phone calls.
No phone calls today. These past couple, we haven't had anybody on the phone. But you know what? I think actually kind of makes it a little easier because then I get to see everybody's face. And then every so often, I'm honest, when we get into a conversation, I forget that there's people on the phone until like Deanna will chip in or Sybil will start coming up with a point or something.
Inadvertently we talk over them and
I feel
really bad.
Or then I'll look at my own phone and I'll be like, oh, I've got somebody on the phone. I better talk to them. You know, and I want to make sure everybody's included. But just having the...
What was that? I'm not sure what I said.
I'm not talking about people on the phone.
It's okay, Alexa. I have no idea what I'm talking about half the time either.
She wants to be included.
She wants to be included. Well, you know what?
Was that Alexa or Siri?
Who cares?
Who cares? One of these days, Monkey Business Podcast is basically going to be Cortana, Siri, and Alexa all talking to each other, and we're just going to be drinking coffee in the background. So today's topic. We're going to share some anecdotes. We're going to share some stories about the people we've met, the situations we found ourselves kind of weird in, either in conventions or meeting celebrities out and about. And like little things like when I was a teenager and my parents and I were flying down to New York City for a weekend, and the row behind me was Richard Harris, the great Shakespearean actor who played Dumbledore for the first two movies before he passed away. I was in theater at that time.
He was also Arthur in
exactly. Camelot. Yeah, so I got a chance to chat with him for a little bit, and he never really gave me any advice, but he was just very warm, and he chatted a little bit. He offered some tales that he'd been involved in. He wanted to know what I was doing, stuff like that. So the great fanboy fangirl moments that we've had as convention goers, as just as fans of entertaining things, and so show of hands real quick, just so I keep track of who here has been to a convention. We all have, right? All six of us have been to a convention at one point or another.
Ours counts, right?
Yeah, ours counts.
Yay.
So yes, you can say, hey, I've been to FC3 because I'd hope so because you were there. I saw it. I have pictures. Tony's been to a convention.
A singular convention. Wasn't FC3.
Singular
That's
convention.
Fine. Yeah. And I'm not going to hold that against you. In a flip setting flipped setting, somebody else might hold it against you. But
yeah.
So, Jason, I know you have a ton of stories because you were like a regular on the convention circuit for a while, weren't you? Or
yeah, so I
just got to mention Losi.
Yeah, I grew up in them. So my sister's godfather is Mark Macaluso, who started Fantasy Trade Card Company.
Okay.
Who, did the Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan. I remember summers, literally in the garage of my uncle's house, cutting with the big machine and packeting, and
that's amazing.
Doing Alien Nation. Just some really. He did Marvel first covers, so I grew up around this stuff from day one. I've been around,
and you've got a great story about being punished at a convention that a lot of other people would like long to be in your shoes for.
Yeah. I was in trouble at a Star Trek convention here in Rochester, actually, and Scotty was the main attraction at the time, and Scotty was we're R-rated, right? Batshit crazy. At that point.
We are now.
And he was, we were jacked up against a radiator, and so, anyways, long story short, as sort of my punishment, I had to sit down next to him.
And this is the original James Doohan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And he was just, it was just every creak, everything. The Klingons are coming, the bloody Klingons, I'm telling you. And and I was sitting there with my eyes wide open, shaking. There was also Klingons literally running around, arresting people, and it was just like, Block knock through a flood and speaking, it was all this crazy stuff. Oh, man, it was, I will never forget that day in my life. And, needless to say, I was a pretty good kid at Star Trek convention.
Billy, how about you?
Oh, I've been to obviously local conventions, which I've had a lot of fun at. The last year's FC3. The fact that I got to co-moderate a panel.
That was fun.
Was a lot of fun.
We had such a great time together.
Just talking about movies and TV shows, which was a lot of fun. I've been to some bigger ones. What Niagara Falls Comic-Con, which is sort of mid-level, and Fan Expo in Toronto, which I think is the third biggest in North America.
It's crazy.
It was the biggest at one point, I believe.
So, I can't beat San Diego. San Diego's been around a lot longer.
Which one started first?
San Diego.
And so I've been to Fan Expo 3 or 4 times, and fun stuff always happens there for me. My first year there, like literally, Susan and I went, my wife and I went up there, and I think it was like half an hour in, I'm in the dealer's room, and I'm just looking around, and I go, I'm home. I found my people.
You found your tribe.
I love this place.
You found your tribe.
I was glowing.
That's awesome.
It just felt right. Like I found. Look at all these people. This is crazy. Comic books and movies. Look at this. A guy in a monster suit. I love this. Yeah. So I Fan Expo, and I've wound up meeting a lot of really cool people because of it. I got to fanboy out, and
one of your favorite moments. Who have you met that's like the one that you think of first?
That first year, getting my picture taken with Stan Lee.
Okay,
because he's a legend. He's Stan Lee.
He's like the god of the universe in the comic book world.
That first year I went, his panel was like a Friday afternoon, or maybe it was the Thursday afternoon.
Toronto.
Was it Toronto?
Oh, I think I might have been there that year.
His panel was, I think, Thursday afternoon, which is the lightest attended day. So normally his panel would be packed. And it was Thursday at like 5 in the afternoon or 6 o'clock, and Alice Cooper was before him.
Yeah. How's that for an opening act? Alice Cooper opens up for Stan Lee.
I'm not a huge Alice Cooper fan, but I said, let me go sit in the room and get a feel. Because I was first year there, and you're just sort of excited to be anywhere. Let me go sit in this room and get a vibe, and just wound up with a great seat, and it was, the room was still pretty full, but it wasn't crazy to get in. Like, as I've learned later, on a Saturday afternoon, you're not getting anywhere near those big panel rooms with the celebrities. So
I think that that Thursday when he came in, he walked through the line. And the line was winding, and he literally went and sort of just walked by everybody, gave him a little stop for picture. Just like he's such a cool.
Yeah,
I've heard that story many times about him.
I'm a huge collector of toys, not so much comics, but definitely toys. And anytime they make like a stand or some store, Stan Lee pop or anything, I always get it. I just feel like he is such a part of that, if not the biggest part of that world, to some extent.
I think he actually announced his last convention would be Fan Expo.
Yeah, I think he's done after Fan Expo. His last Canadian convention was Fan Expo. I think he did.
He might have one more New York left in him.
Did New York City Comic Con? This was Fan Expo was last Labor Day, wasn't it?
last.
Well, I know that he said he's not doing San Diego anymore. He's not doing European conventions anymore. So
he's too old.
Yeah, he's just it's too much. I mean, come on, the man's what, 93?
Yeah,
92, 94. He's done his bit for King and Country. It's time you can retire and relax a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky enough to where I work in radio, and I've gotten the chance to meet some celebrities that have been through the studio or been to town or even just on the phone. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan.
Okay.
And the fact that I got to talk to him on the phone when he was promoting Comic Book Men, I was shaky. You could hear in my voice how excited I was.
That is cool. See,
and I got to talk to him for like 15 minutes.
That's great.
And afterwards, Susan was my girlfriend at the time. She called up the show after, I'm so happy for you. You could tell. Because Kevin talked about how he wanted to adopt me and how much he liked me. And and I replay it on Best Of every once in a while.
That's
just because
awesome.
it makes me happy.
That is cool.
Because he was great.
I'd love to get him in for FC3. That'd be phenomenal to have him on board for that.
I'll probably chime in a bunch on stuff like this. So I saw him in New York City get out of a cab, and I was like, is he really wearing that coat? And
that's really
that's his coat.
Yeah.
That's how Silent
somebody
Bob got his coat.
Yeah, and they were like, no, that's him. I was
he's
like,
normal.
Man, that's him. Yeah, just jumped out of a cab. Excuse me, guys. I mean, he's like, he's.
And I've seen him do a couple live shows since then, but and that's always a ton of fun. In fact, I'm sorry if you go to one of his podcasts is called Hollywood Babylon. Him and a radio guy named Ralph Garman do sort of a pop culture breakdown, entertainment, whatever. And they did a live one in Toronto a couple years ago. And I was there. In fact, Toronto Comic-Con, not Fan Expo, but Toronto Comic-Con was that weekend. So Susan and I went up for the Comic-Con, and then that night went to the Hollywood Babylon show, which was at a theater in Toronto. And they do a segment called the Shout-Outs. What's that?
The Liam Neeson?
Not the Liam, no. Just early in the show, it's called the Shout-Outs. If you're, Ralph reads emails from people that have come from, as he puts it, particularly long distances or are celebrating something special.
Okay.
So I knew we were coming, so I wrote Ralph an email saying, hey, coming from Rochester, and I wrote a thing. Yeah. And he read it, and I didn't tell Susan. So when Ralph gets to it, this comes from Billy DeTore, and you can hear Susan go, oh, that's him! And Kevin and Ralph break up, and they make a bit out of it, and they read my letter and do that little request. They do, like, I asked for Ralph's impression of Adam West and Kevin's impression of Bane singing Jackson 5's I Want You Back.
Oh, my God.
And they do it, and it's a very funny bit. And
awesome.
Just the fact they said my name, you can hear Susan gets a big laugh. And, after she makes, oh, my God, that's him thing, Kevin does the thing about how nice Canadians are. And then Ralph reads, we're coming from Rochester, New York. God! And Kevin goes, what do you mean? They're not even Canadian? So that was just a real, it's episode 100 of Hollywood Babylon.
All right, I got to check that one out.
Back and check it out.
I'm going to write that down. Wayne, how about you, man? Because I know you've been cruising conventions and whatnot.
My first con was like 1979.
Wow.
I was 7.
I drove to Chicago for Chicago Comic-Con. And
so he was older than 16 if he drove there.
Yeah. That was my first drive. I didn't know Chicago was that far away. But I don't know.
Am I not there yet? I've been on the road for 6 hours.
Let's see. Well, when I was doing the show, I used to interview a bunch of people. I've interviewed Nichelle Nichols, Colin Baker.
You get to meet him again soon.
You get to interview him again.
I did a lot of people, and I don't know. Maybe I went to like Phil Souling's comic book show in New York City back when that was the big comic book show in New York every 4th of July.
What was the one, because you had your access show, you had everything, you had the interviews. What was that one interview that you're like, I can't believe I'm going to be talking to this person. Oh, my God, I'm going to be talking to this person. Like, you're like, okay, this is cool, but then there's that one that kind of makes you go, oh, wow, okay, crap, I got to bring my A game today.
No, there's nobody.
No, really?
I asked Deke Slayton if they drank Tang in outer space. When he came here.
And his response was,
oh, yeah, we drink Tang. It's like, really? It's like, yeah.
Wait, one person, you've mentioned it a few times on Facebook, I think. Didn't you recently meet, was it the Game of Thrones author?
Oh, George R. Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
And you live to tell the tale, too. That's kind of impressive.
Because he's not a character in one
You
of the
seem to
books.
be very happy about that.
Well, because George is like just a normal person.
Yeah.
I was at the World Science Fiction Convention in Kansas City this year. And I was just walking around, and I went to the con suite, and sitting down having a Coke, and there was sitting right next to me was George R. Martin. It's like, oh, you're George R. Martin. It's like, yeah, oh, cool.
Because he is very recognizable. Once you see his picture, you really can't mistake him for anybody else short of Santa Claus.
But there was another person there who came by later, like, you look just like George. Yeah, people telling me that all weekend. But it was like, and I talked to him, and I was talking to him about Wild Cards instead of Game of Thrones, because they didn't want to ask anything about Game of Thrones because they know he gets tired about Game of Thrones. All people asking.
Wild Cards rings a bell.
It's a superhero universe.
Is that the one where it was? Oh God, they had the guy who. I can't.
That's
think
the next series he's going to be doing.
They were the books.
Yeah.
I remember those, and they're going to do a TV series of it. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yes, they're going to do a TV series.
I remember reading those books back in the early '90s, mid '90s.
That's going to be the new TV series.
Everybody
a bunch of them are done, and that's a shared universe. So he's got other people to write stuff, so you don't have to wait 10 years for a new book to come out.
I'd forgotten that he was behind those books?
Yeah, that was all part of his... he used to do a superhero role-playing game called Superworld.
Okay.
And he used to DM it. And those are all modules from stuff he made.
Oh, my God. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
So I met him. I met Forrest J. Ackerman. I went to his house and saw... You talk about a collection of stuff. He had a Cylon. He has a robot from Metropolis. He has Bela Lugosi's ring and cape.
Oh, wow.
if you talk to people who like John Landis and George Lucas and those guys, people who were inspired by Forrest J. Ackerman, because he did Famous Monsters of Filmland, and that was the magazine that everybody read back in the day. And he was the face of Famous Monsters of Filmland.
That's cool.
Created Vampirella also.
All right, I'm going to take it to our lesser exposed folks here, Tony and Tanya. Tony and Tanya, say that 5 times fast, because I know you guys have the convention circuit, and
it's new to me.
It's still new to you guys.
It's brand spanking new to me.
So instead of because Tony, you've only met like who? You've met Lou Ferrigno. You've met.
I actually didn't really get to talk to him.
You didn't even get to talk to him.
But outside of that, I met one of the animators for one of the CGI guys for Wonder Woman.
Okay.
And he also did the CGI for World of Warcraft.
Oh, cool.
He was a really cool guy. I actually asked for some advice because at the time I was really into what's it called?
Stop motion animation?
No.
CGI?
No, it's
Powerpuff Girls?
No. it's a
He's
rowdy,
fanboying.
Rowdy Rough
I'm trying to
Boys?
remember. It's a computer program that's used to like animate
Poser?
shapes. What?
Poser?
No.
Blender.
Blender. Thank
That's
you.
the one.
That's the one.
Man.
Yeah.
I thought a blender is something you put
Couldn't
everything
think
in
of the
and
name.
make a smoothie.
But
bullet.
yeah, I asked for some advice about Blender. He gave me some good advice. I was able to actually like make waves with it.
Oh,
So,
cool. See, so it's starting off.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask the same question of Tanya in a moment. Who is it? Just assuming that you're going to go to a convention with a particular person, who is it that you're like most excited to meet someday? Who would you want to? It's like the top of your list of people you would want to meet.
They're all about to die.
Who?
Like, honestly, anyone from the original Star Trek cast or anyone from the original Star Wars cast. In particular, Harrison Ford would be cool.
Okay.
I agree with that one.
He doesn't do
But I know he doesn't.
Right,
regardless of whether he does or not,
Yeah,
I'm
but
asking
you can
Tony
meet
who
him,
we'd want to
yeah.
meet.
I'd love to meet Harrison Ford. He'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Get off my plane.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, like, what's his name?
Movie.
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Oh,
Daniel Radcliffe.
That's the one.
Okay.
He'd be cool, I
Okay.
think.
Could have saw him on Broadway in Equus.
There you go. Seen a lot of them, apparently.
Ah, yeah.
All right, Tanya, we're moving over to you. Now, have you had a fangirl moment yet?
No, I wouldn't say fangirl moment
I mean, you've met
yet.
Power Rangers.
I did meet Power
and
Rangers.
Jim Cummings.
and I didn't really get a chance to talk to Jim that much that
No.
weekend. It was more Karen and Walter, who, which is kind of surreal because they're like my age or
Right.
just like a year older or just a year younger. So I think if it was under the Power Ranger franchise, definitely I'd love to meet Austin St. John or Jason David Frank. Those are two because they're like the originals. But if I was
so was Walter.
right, well, yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. If I was to jump movies, definitely probably Harrison Ford, but we know that he doesn't do cons. If I was you were gonna say Jeremy Renner, of course, yes,
Because you had a lifelong crush on Jeremy Renner since you first saw him.
Yes, way back in the Thor movie.
There you go.
But I would have to do like TV shows like Jensen and Jared from Supernatural, just because they seem to bring a show with them.
Right.
They
are their own. They're
their
shtick.
two-man stick comedy and singing and things like that. All with, like if I'm perusing through Facebook or whatever, if there's a Supernatural thing and it says 15 times Jensen has wooed you with his voice or whatever. And I'm not a huge Jensen Ackles fan because I just remember him as Eric Brady from Days of Our Lives, and I can't see him in that. He's just
Didn't they use that clip in
I
a
think
Supernatural
so.
episode
Something
one time?
like that.
Oh, what? I was a soap opera star. What the hell?
So I'm
Was
like,
that the one where they went to the alternate
Kind of
universe?
Through the mirror or whatever it was.
But I'm definitely more of like a Sam fan versus a Jared fan, and people are than a Dean fan. Of course, I'm a Jared fan, but I don't know. It's like, but I met Noel G and I met Kerry Tagawa, who is a really awesome guy, and Chris Doohan. I met James's son when he was here a couple of years ago. But I think the best was walking into Dinosaur Barbecue and meeting was it Michael Lewis?
Winslow. Michael Winslow from the Police Academy movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then having him come back and...
What a class act that man is.
He's like, come back and walk through the con.
Okay.
We snuck him in.
So back to you, Jason. I'm going to swing around because I know you probably got plenty more stories than having to babysit Jim Doohan.
Vice versa.
What's that?
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. No, I think we both know which way that was going.
Who's your most famous babysitter?
Well, how old are you at the time of the story you just told us a little bit ago?
I was probably 12,
okay.
maybe younger.
All right, so about Tony's age. Wait, I'm sorry.
Whoa, I am 19, sir.
All these things start to bleed together at one point or another.
I don't think we can remember when we were 19.
No, I do. I remember fine when I was 19.
I remember, though, there wasn't really a lot of cosplay in the early years.
No,
it was like Star Trek.
The occasional person in costume, but I don't think it was as widespread as it is in the modern.
Have you seen some of the Have you seen some of the pictures from like the 70s and 80s?
Mm-hmm. Are you sure they were wearing cosplay costumes though, or they weren't just dressed for disco?
Well, the sci-fi stuff definitely. I mean, they were definitely
they were
Klingon'd out and
No, I mean they were just regular costumes. I went to
Romulans.
There was people doing Indiana Jones,
dun, dun, dun,
the Royal Canadian Mounted Starfleet.
Mm-hmm.
There was lots of conventions. But I did like mostly science fiction conventions. So there's always every Saturday night there's a masquerade. So there was always people dressed up.
How about you, Billy?
Can I go off the nerd circuit for
Absolutely.
Because it's something happened to me this past summer that was kind of got me fanned out.
Okay.
And it has sort of an odd ending. Mm-hmm. You know, I work for the Brother Weeze show, and I'm a huge music fan. Yes, I do.
We did not know that.
I'm telling some people that may not know.
Okay.
And over the years, I'm a huge music fan. I do a music show on Sunday mornings.
A phenomenal music show. No, phenomenal, like world renowned.
And like one of my favorite bands in the whole wide world, Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah.
Met them. They were in studio with us in '97, so that was awesome. And got my picture taken. We got to hang out with them. That was awesome.
That's cool.
Now this past summer, another one of my favorite bands is Counting Crows.
Okay.
They got
some great stuff.
They did a couple shows in the area. My wife and I, it was on my birthday. They were playing at the casino up in Niagara Falls on the Buffalo side. So Weeze, through one of his connections at the casino, got us great seats. I mean,
fantastic.
Like 8th row center.
Oh, man.
Going up there for the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's their outdoor venue, like 5,000 seats, and got, like I said, 8th row center. Going up there, walking around. We got to get up there early. They pick up the tickets. We're having fun in the casino, walking around. We stop sort of get our bearings, and who's standing about 3 feet from us but the lead singer of Counting Crows, Adam Duritz.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So, excuse me, and I recognize, because he's got the huge dreads, and he looks like the guy from Counting Crows. So I ask him for a picture, and he's very polite, says yes, get my picture taken with him, and that's awesome. And because as soon as I see him, like literally Susan and I are just stopping, and I turn and just look at her, and I punch her in the shoulder. It's Adam Duritz. And so she takes our pictures, very nice. Could the day get any better? Turns out no, because that day it was not rainy, but it was super windy. It was so windy that they moved the venue from their outdoor venue to the indoor, which holds about half the amount of people. And they had to and it was going to be general admission. So instead of 8th row center, you now have to stand in line for literally 4 hours.
Oh no!
Like literally, they're going to start lining people up then.
Okay.
To wait 4 hours to go up to their indoor venue to stand for no chairs, just standing venue.
Oh wow!
And I'm old. I don't want to stand for 4 hours to get in, and then it was Rob Thomas and Counting Crows, so it's co-headliners, another 4 hour show. So we would be standing on our feet for 8 hours. So we went home.
Oh man!
But you got the picture.
I got my picture with him, but I didn't get to see him in concert.
Oh.
That kind of bummed me out, but I got the picture.
One thing I keep hearing Broadway, which so I love Broadway. I always thought it was so great. Like, so one of my cool stories is I had a friend who was the understudy for Simba on Garth Fagan's Lion King. In Toronto. And one of the things that they do when you get like a free ticket from somebody on the staff is they have this this area right behind the curtain. So if you've ever seen Lion King, they come down the aisleway. And so they are all sort of getting ready to be animals in this area. And so they stand you right next to the door where everybody comes out. And they all scream at you on their way out, like a monkey or like a cheetah or whatever they are. And you're like the first, but they don't tell you they're going to do that. Right? So they're like, just stand here. And then they tell you, go behind the elephant and then get your seat, which is you'll see right behind the thing there or whatever. So you're like, okay, you're just kind of waiting there. And, all of a sudden they're like, rah, rah, rah. And screaming in your face and coming out, and then there's this whole line of people, and then you're like the elephant dung behind the and you come out and you're all like freaked out and sit down in your seat. But that was an amazing experience.
That's cool.
Love theater for sure.
See, now in the convention business, I've met a few people. I've gone to conventions and I've met a few people, and I've always been very excited. But like the very first celebrity that I met when I came to the Doctor Who convention back in the 80s, I was 12 or 13 at the time, and Nicholas Courtney, who played the Brigadier, had come to do the panels and sign autographs and whatnot. So I got to meet the Brigadier, and it was exciting for me as a 12, 13-year-old kid. I thought it was great. That was my first time meeting somebody who I'd seen on TV on several occasions. We were at it was the Holiday Inn. It's now the Radisson downtown.
Okay.
And there was a McDonald's 2 doors down. So my buddy and I went down to grab something to eat, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden Nicholas Courtney walks in and sits behind us. And he's just having a quiet moment of downtime. And I'm sitting there going, I'm having lunch with the Brigadier. Holy crap. That kind of a thing. All those moments that I can remember, meeting a celebrity, getting autographs, they were important, and I really enjoyed each of those moments. But the first time I was ever really nervous, like shaking with excitement, was just a few months ago. Collective Soul came to town. They were going to do a show in Geneseo. Now, that's been my favorite band since they first hit the scene. Mm-hmm. And Ed Roland did his little quiet set at the Record Archive.
Yep.
And a buddy of mine, I would never have known if a buddy of mine had not reached out to me and said, Ed Roland's going to be doing a thing at the Record Archive. And I'm like, oh my God, the lead singer of my favorite band. Absolutely, I'm going to go. And I figured I was just going to go. I was going to see him play, and then he'd wander off, and that was that. But at one point, he lingers. He's going to do autographs. I managed to get my hands on a collector's album of the latest vinyl rendition of the latest album, and he's autographing it, shaking my hand and chatting. I'm like, yay! And my daughter was with me, and she's like, Dad, I didn't know it was possible that you could turn into a fangirl, right? And it's like, but that for me was that was the biggest moment of like my life of dealing with entertainers.
Yeah, I do have more of those moments with musicians.
Musicians, really.
A bunch of years ago, I'm a huge fan of the band Squeeze.
Okay,
some people may remember
yeah.
from Hourglass or Black Coffee and Battered Tempted. They've had
There's a lot of other songs. Oh, yeah, that's a great band.
One of the guys from the band, Chris Difford, was doing a solo show at the time. I think it was Milestones, whatever it was called at the time. And me and a buddy went, enjoyed the show, and afterwards we're sitting at our table, getting ready to leave. Next thing you know, he's literally walking around after the show, shaking everybody's hand and thanking them for coming.
Isn't that cool?
So literally, I'm talking to my buddy next to, hello, thank you for...
Huh? Oh my God!
Oh, it's you!
That's amazing.
So I thought that was very cool.
I'm expecting a certain amount of fanboy on my regard to come this May.
There'll definitely be fanboying.
Yeah, because one of the doctors is coming. We're going to have Colin Baker at FC3 17. I'm a big Doctor Who fan.
In April.
When they announced that we were bringing him.
Well, no, you fanboyed this past April when Gigi showed up.
Well, yeah, I mean, because she's hot. What do you want? She's so freaking awesome. Gigi Edgley from Farscape.
And that's why she's still your profile picture.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, come on, it was cool. I'm with Gigi Edgley, for crying out loud.
I'm lucky that my wife is sort of outgoing because, like you, you're outgoing. But when I go to conventions, like literally if I'm going to get someone's autograph or get a book signed or whatever, a drawing, here you go, thank you, and I'd walk away. Or Susan will engage them in conversation. Next thing you know, I sort of get the...
You're taking them to dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Because of that, I wind up getting the residual effects of friendship, like Ken Lashley,
you're taking them to the Strong Museum and Dinosaur
There
Barbecue.
Are friends. Dan Parent and Fernando Ruiz from Archie Comics are friends. And I've just met them in Niagara Falls. I told you I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith and Joey Lauren Adams, who was and Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Susan wound up asking an excellent question in their panel, and afterwards she wound up talking to Susan for a long, long time, like came over and thanked her for the excellent question. We wound up going back to her table where she talked some more, and I can't believe I'm standing here with Alyssa from Chasing Amy.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Now that I'm going to use the podcast for a quick piece of business right now. Do we have information for Dan Parent and Fernando Ruiz yet? Have we gotten the bios from them?
No.
Can we follow up with them? Because I know I know they want to come to FC3.
Right. Dan has acknowledged, at least on one of Billy's posts, that yes, he is going to plan on being here in May. Okay. That he said he'll see you in May.
Okay.
That was on their
so
Christmas
let's pin that
one.
down, because I'd love to make that an official announcement that these guys are coming.
Deanna was tapping Susan in order to go after them to get their stuff, because
cool deal. Okay.
They've got some in with them.
Just as a hint to the listener, we might have some more guest artist announcements coming up soon.
I know Dan says yes, that he was planning on coming,
but we don't have specifics on Fernando yet.
They're partners. They got that Kitty Die book.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I want to give them all that opportunity.
Coming, but
a deal.
I'd like to hear what their thoughts are on the new TV series Riverdale.
Oh, don't even get Fernando started on that. Oh my God,
I'm gonna have to start watching.
It's not Archie.
Yeah. It's Twin Peaks meets.
Yes, it's Twin Peaks meets Archie.
Yeah.
So I have, as far as cons are concerned, we've met a lot of great people. I've never done a panel.
Well, guess what? Would you like to do one in May?
Sure.
Look at his eyes. He's like
his eyes just lit up.
I mean, I've never sat to listen. I've rarely ever stood in line for an autograph or any of that kind of stuff. For me, it's just that whole
atmosphere.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
when you first walk in and it just hits you that you're there, and it's that, especially at those big cons where you're like, you don't know which way to go first.
Right.
You're looking.
That's
up
when
at
I went to Chicago. It's like it was tons of things to go see doing, and it's like I don't know where to go see.
And
it's all
you're hiding from stormtroopers because you're afraid that they're going to arrest you and move you somewhere.
There were no stormtroopers back
then.
then.
But it's all your people. You know what I mean? It's like you all have that. It's that thing that connects all of you. Yeah, exactly. And the toys and the oh my God, I found this, and the digging through stuff and the bumping into some really cool cosplayer, or it's just like that whole.
That's how cons started. Cons were back in the days of comics. There was a letter column in the comics. I was looking through.
I love the letter columns. I still look at them in the
same here.
You had addresses of people, and it's like, wow. I was reading one the other day, and it's like, hey, there was somebody in Rochester. And it's like, I didn't know that, but back then it's like, I wouldn't have known that.
So-and-so, Rochester, New York. Hey, I know that guy.
They had their whole name and address.
Yeah.
The whole address in there.
The old Archie books used to have pen pal, like you could be pen pals with people. There would be like a list in it, and I bet that wasn't.
So that's how conventions kind of started up, huh?
Probably.
And
that's how it started.
Prisoner friendships.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Prisoner.
In the letter writing columns.
So what are you in for?
And that's how science fiction conventions started in the 30s and 40s, because all the people liked the same stuff, so they all got together and they met up and they formed clubs, and then they did conventions, and that's how it all
There's
started.
nothing better than looking at or for me, just finding a comic book that I'd been looking for years.
Yeah. You just go through and you're just looking for comics, and it's like...
Yeah, comics, or for me, it's mostly toys.
Same thing.
Yeah, I've got a bunch.
Just like digging through a box.
There's so much stuff.
Or collector's items, such as this Superman phone that is...
Yeah, finding or the vice versa. Knowing that you've got some real cool, like you went to a bunch of I remember over there on Canal Street, because I spent a lot of times at Bags Unlimited, which was Mark Macalusso's father. My dad worked there, so I'd go down to that VOA that was down there,
right,
and there used to be a box that was just loose toys, and it was huge, and you could spend of course you got to get to the bottom of the box, right?
Yeah,
you can't exactly.
Excavation,
just peeling toys out all day, and then finding that one or that stuff, and then going to a con and knowing that you're going to trade some of this cool stuff, or those are all like, that's definitely the experience, the overarching sort of what a con is about is really what is. As far as like when you talk
meeting
about
other people, meeting the other fans,
the fandoms, the rest of the fandoms doing meetups.
I almost could care less about who is there, like the
guy, VIPs.
It doesn't matter.
Nope,
it doesn't matter because
really
it's like there'll always be somebody there, but then there's always other people to meet. There's other things to do. There's so much to do. It's like
and people you'd never like you wouldn't normally go see them, but sometimes you'll just take a flyer. Let me go to this panel, see what it's like, and you really wind up enjoying their The guy that plays Billy in Gremlins, Zach Galligan.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Let's go see Zach Galligan talk. And he was a lot of fun. He was very funny. And I always like Gremlins, but, it was a way to kill 45 minutes, and I really liked that. That was a lot of fun. So...
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter who's going to be there. It's a con.
Yeah. So you get the vibe that fanboy fangirl vibe off of just going to the convention and feeding off of the energy. It's the people that you've met are kind of secondary to it.
Yeah,
like I love earlier in this particular podcast you're like, yeah, I interviewed Nichelle Nichols and you're moving on. I was like, holy crap, really? You got to now? Was that over the phone in person?
No, in person.
In person.
Her, George Takei, Chekhov,
Walter Koenig.
Who else? Ray Bradbury, Isaac Asimov.
Oh my God, you met Asimov?
What? Yeah.
Seriously?
He's just so nonchalant.
And he's so nonchalant about it. That's amazing.
Larry
I love
Niven,
Asimov.
Niven, Purnell,
Harlan Ellison, you met him?
Ellison. Oh, yeah, I got a good story.
Oh, here we go.
Ellison.
Tell me an Ellison story.
We're going to the world. They're going to Nebula Awards in New York City. I was going to shoot the Nebula Awards. Nobody else has ever shot the Nebula Awards. So I went to shoot the Nebula Awards. I got there 5 minutes after Harlan Ellison got in a fist fight with somebody. And it was like, I said, man, if I got there earlier, I could have got the fist fight on tape.
Oh, my God.
On tape.
On videotape.
Feisty is a good word to describe Harlan Ellison.
He used to be known as the angry young man of science fiction. Now he's the angry old man of science fiction. He's got. You ever heard his gopher story?
No.
Oh, he's got a great gopher
story. All right, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
Harlan Ellison, the gopher story. So continue on.
Yeah, and it's like I've met so many people that it doesn't matter. They're just all, like I said, when I went George R. R. Martin, they're just people. They're just hanging out. Oh, a couple of astronauts.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned Deke Slayton at one point.
Deke Slayton here.
See, that would be more to me like, like when I think about meeting some of these characters, I'm like, it's just a character they play. Like,
just
it's not, that has.
Yeah.
Do you remember in episode 134 when the doctor's like, come
yeah,
on,
no, I hate doing that.
But an astronaut, wow, that's like, or someone that's like sort of actually lived
has
out
done
some
the
of
thing.
those. Yeah, that's.
At Niagara Falls.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neil Gaiman, I met him.
Great writer.
His assistant, she used to live in Rochester.
Uh-huh.
So I met him too. But it's like there's tons of people out there. They're just people.
At Niagara Falls last year, and I think someone had a similar experience when they met the voice of Winnie the Pooh, was it?
Yeah, Jim Cummings.
His mom.
Yeah.
In Niagara Falls, I met the guy that does Big Bird.
Yeah.
And Oscar the Grouch.
Okay.
And he did his panel.
Carol
Spinney.
Carol Spinney.
So after the panel, he's standing in the door. We go up and say hi and wind up taking a picture. And to me, Susan had got this Big Bird, a stuffed Big Bird that he signed for us. And I think you guys have been over our house. You may have seen it.
Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Just the fact, him holding the Big Bird and he did the voice. And it's
like your childhood hero at that point.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
I love conventions. Like it's just being around.
Yeah, it's being around.
He found his tribe.
His tribe. Yeah. Now, and I know, for Jason and for Wayne, you guys you feed off the vibe of the other people. So there's really, you're not as bowled over by the people, the VIPs or the celebrities and stuff. So I'm going to start with you guys, but I have a question to come around the table on. Is there somebody out there who you really you hope that there's somebody you meet? Like a particular actor or director or writer, artist. Is there one person that you'd be like, okay, I probably would be excited to meet so-and-so? Can you think of anybody?
Still alive?
Obviously still alive because I can't bring out the dead. I'm not a psychic.
You sure?
I've tried. My grandmother's not talking to me. So
maybe she doesn't want to talk to you.
No, she loves me. Stop it, Meanie. Anyway,
I think you made them speechless.
It's like a little tough. I mean,
the Rogue One. What's her name?
Daisy.
No, not
for 19 years.
The woman who played Jin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we look that up? I'll know her name when I
somebody
hear
I'd
it.
want to see. Terry Hatcher.
Terry Hatcher.
Yeah.
I
see Terry. I got a poster to get it. I got Dean Cain autograph, so I'd look at her.
So for the completeness of it.
Yeah,
Dean Cain I met him a couple years ago, and he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
Most of them are.
Yeah.
Most of these people really are nice people. Just regular, everyday folks.
Yeah.
And I've discovered that if you just talk to him about,
Normal
hey, what are you up
stuff.
to? How's the family? What do you, how you been holding up lately? Stuff like that. Instead of, hey, in episode 133, the second line, what were you feeling? I don't care. I was just wanted to make sure I got the line right.
Yeah, I just got the line right. It's whatever they wrote.
Tony would like to
Felicity Jones.
Felicity
Okay,
Jones,
so
that's
Felicity Jones is somebody he wants to meet.
Who's Felicity Jones?
She played Jin in
Erso?
Rogue One, the heroine in Rogue One.
Have you seen Rogue One?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Okay. Yeah. Had to think about it for a second. How about you, Jason? Anybody off the top of your head you'd really just be excited to see?
Couple people. I think Triple H.
There you go.
He's a superb businessman. He's definitely embodies a lot of things that I'm very interested in. Not to mention, obviously, the whole character stuff. And all that.
Absolutely.
Malcolm Reynolds.
Okay, Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who
there's
agree
a
with you
lot,
on that
yeah.
one.
I got his picture autograph, but he's okay.
He's all right.
He did a really funny panel
can
when
we
I saw
fire
him in
him?
Toronto. He was really entertaining in his panel.
I like Jewel State from. I met her at Toronto.
Oh,
Track.
she's amazing. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
all right, so Tony Felicity Jones. Wayne's more interested in.
I'm just trying to think. I said Terry Hatcher just because
Terry Hatcher
I need
and
a
Nathan.
poster to get autographed.
So we got Nathan
got
Fillion
an ulterior
and Triple H
motive
from Jason. Billy, how about you?
Well, Kevin Smith, I already said. I haven't met him.
Yeah.
I've talked to him a couple times.
Would you like to be able to have a proper kind of?
Yeah, I think we'd be friends.
Yeah.
Tarantino's another. I love Tarantino's
Quentin
work so
Tarantino
much.
sounds like he's just unhinged.
He's a nut.
He is a nut job.
But
a lot of fun.
Maybe someone that I could be friends with. Like
Okay.
I dream of
Well, you can be
actually
friends with
wind up being
anybody.
friends with these people.
Yeah, that's part of your charm, Billy. Is you get along with pretty much everybody.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is that I'm shy. I know once I'm comfortable with someone, I'm good. But I'm pretty inverted.
We forget that because we get used to each other. Like I have one of my best friends, Scott. He is painfully shy in public, but I forget that because he and I have been around each other for 16, 17, oh God, more than that now, long time. And around when he's in the group, he's talking. He's just talking nonstop. He's throwing jabs. He's having a good time. He's making comments. He's making references. We're sharing stuff. So I forget. When I'm around him, that he is very shy. So, you get that opportunity to warm up to people, and it's like, it's amazing.
He mentioned Triple H as a wrestler. I always love CM Punk, and he's a nerd too. He's a big comic book guy,
Yeah, he'd be very
and I
cool
like
to
his
meet, for
backstory. So
I know
CM
somebody
Punk.
I'd like to meet.
Who?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh my God, yeah, he is awesome.
Only because I did an interview with Carl Sagan back when he came to Rochester way back.
The people this man has met. The people this man has met.
And it's like. I did the interview because he came to speak at the U of R, and our news came, and our news had no idea who Carl Sagan was.
Seriously?
I'm serious.
How do you not know who Carl Sagan is?
They asked him a Star Trek question about do you believe in like time travel? And he says, what do you mean? And he says, I don't know. Somebody told me to ask you that. It was like,
do you have an archive of all these interviews you've done over the years?
Yeah.
Can we get a hands on that so we can put it up somewhere so people can see the stuff that you've done?
That requires work.
I have interns. Tony, work with Wayne.
A lot of it's on 3/4-inch videotape.
Oh wow.
The Colin Baker's on 3/4 inch.
Okay.
But I got it somewhere.
We're working on that. We're going to work on that.
Have you ever seen his show?
Which one, Carl?
Reality Fast Forward, or back in the day, I interviewed tons of people.
I really, honestly, I have not. I've heard of it on many occasions. I've heard people refer to it in very, happily,
I'm
in good words.
surprised that people watched it.
That's how I first knew. Like for years, you were just on my TV every Friday or Saturday night.
I'm just so surprised people watched the show. It's
and as a nerd, I gotta stop. Who's the black kid?
It's like, how could people watch this?
Didn't you wear the hat with the
propeller beanie?
propeller
I got a
beanie?
propeller beanie.
And I love how he said it's like, yeah, I've got that. Okay. Yeah, you got me.
The first time I talked to you or I met you or whatever, and you told me how old you were, I was shocked. For years, I just thought you were like 17.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm old.
Age is only a state of mind, man.
That's
it's a
true.
number. That's
That
it.
is true.
That's all there is to it. All right. So, Billy, Kevin Smith, Jason's Triple H, and Nathan Fillion.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson and Terry Hatcher. Felicity Jones. Tanya.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this as I've been listening to everyone say what they want to. We've talked about it in our meetings when we're talking about bringing people to FC3 and things like that, who would want to. And the name that keeps coming up is John Barrowman.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He's a hell of a guy. Oh, he brings a party with him everywhere he goes.
And that's the thing. I'm like just watching him on the Heroes and Villains Fest, and when they got snowed in Jersey, and then they were in the Lazarus Pit that Experience Entertainment had brought down there, and they were having this big hot tub party in that Lazarus Pit, and it seems that he just has a general all-around good time. Doesn't matter what it is. It's like bringing out high-heeled shoes for Stephen Amell to put on and things like that. It's like he has fun with it, and that's part of this, is to have fun and not necessarily to take yourself seriously all the time and things like that, and to get the audience going. So, yeah, he'd be one of the top ones, and that was well before he became Malcolm Merlin. It was when he was Jack Harkness.
Captain Jack.
Captain Jack.
And even before that.
Omnisexual Captain Jack.
Right, and I saw him on Doctor Who, and then I went over to Torchwood and things like that, and I was like, okay, I kind of like him. And now I've seen him as Malcolm Merlin, and then I'm watching him on Legends. And
the first time I saw John Barrowman perform, the first on-screen part I ever saw for him was the Kevin Kline movie about Cole Porter. The Lovely, and John Barrowman had a bit part as a lead actor in one of the musicals that he was doing. Great. And it was just a phenomenal movie, and you see him dancing, singing, and doing his thing, and even hinting at the Captain Jack personality, because he was playing a homosexual on screen. So you see that outlandish kind of forward nature of him. And I just thought, well, this guy's going to be somebody. And then sure enough, boom, he showed up as Captain Jack within like a year later or so. And it was like, oh my God, he took over the storm. He took over the screen.
So when he was Captain, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's just when he was Captain Jack, I just kept thinking, it's like, he's an American. He's an American. He's an American.
Yeah.
It was like driving me nuts. I was like, oh, this is driving me nuts. This is driving me nuts. I loved him.
Yeah.
And then, the whole, and then of course he gets off into the whole. I think my favorite one was the Looping War one, that where they were dancing in the ballroom there.
Oh right, yeah, that was a great episode of Torchwood, yeah.
But it was a great one.
That's definitely one of the top ones, and I don't know. There's just so many that. Yeah.
So Kevin Smith, John Barrowman.
Now you answer.
Oh, my turn. Okay.
Tennant.
Yeah. you want to bring me to my knees? You want to bring me to my knees? You put me in front of either Felicia Day or David Tennant. Okay. Both of those people. Those are the two. Like, that's the dream list for me. And then of course there's lots of other folks around them. Billy Piper would come into mind. Matt Smith, Karen Gillian. Oh my God. And a lot of the people that are associated with their various things. But you want to bring me to my knees? Put me in front of Felicia Day or David Tennant, and I'll be just like, okay, hi. So. There's my I'm anticipating that, because when Gigi showed up, when Gigi came in for the April show, and you see her come out the terminal there at the airport, and I'm like, wow, this is real. This is happening. We're having these people come to our show. This is really kind of and
we were waiting for them at the airport.
And we're waiting for them at the airport, and they're like, oh, so happy to see you. Hey, how you doing? And she's answering. We're just chit chatting and stuff like that. I was excited to meet her, but it wasn't one of those my hands were shaking, my knees are buckling, like oh my God moments. Not like when I met Ed Roland. Like I was like completely I became like a 12-year-old boy for a second there. But it was still amazing. It was still one of those brain checks, like, holy crap, is this really happening? So you get, I don't know if you get so much desensitized to it. Yeah, we've got her on our speed dial. I know. I don't know if you come desensitized to it, but you just accept it a little bit more.
Well, there's two different kinds of people. You're going to meet the person for the character, and you're going to meet the person for the person. And like your lead singer guy, he's clearly like talented and for what he, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So are you meeting an actor because you're really into the way they act, or are you meeting an actor because you really like that part they played? You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a good point too.
So there's that moment where it's like some people you just like Triple H. I don't want to meet him because I could care less about him as a wrestling character. He's not one of my favorite.
But you like what
characters.
he's done behind the scenes,
right? Exactly. All the business, the time it took, the dedication of being in there for so long. Those kind of things. It's like probably how many times for me, perseverance is a huge thing. It's like how many times did people tell you no? How many people were you not supposed to do that? Did you know he got fired for punching Vince McMahon in the face?
Oh, wow.
He was married to his daughter and running his company. Yeah. So it's like, how do these things? It's just those kind of things. It's like, do I want to meet this big wrestler guy? Yeah, that'd be cool for about 5 minutes. Do I want to meet this other guy?
Yeah.
The
man
be
behind
cool
the mask,
as
it
cool
were.
For much more than.
That's a great point, too.
A tip for people that do get to eventually meet someone they really like is to talk to them about something besides what they're most known for.
Exactly.
The couple times I got to talk to Kevin Smith, we talked about comics and movies, and because I know he and I share some other interests, so I talked to him about what was your favorite comic growing up? What was the one that you couldn't miss? What was and I talked to him about some other stuff, and he really seemed to dig that. And in Toronto a couple years ago, met Adam West and Burt Ward.
Okay.
Just supposed to be a quick, the photo thing where you go up, you take your picture, and you walk away. Well, during their panel, Burt Ward talked a lot about this dog rescue he has. So Susan asked him about the dog thing. And he didn't want to let us go. Like, there's people waiting behind us, and the handlers are trying to shoot. And he wanted to keep us there to talk about the dog thing.
Yeah, because we showed interest in that.
It's like, I don't want to talk about. They're gonna just ask me how it's like to be Robin and all the women that used to bed at all the Robin things. I don't want to talk about the dogs. That's what I want to talk about.
Well, I keep referring to Gigi, but she had this. She does a lot of music behind the scenes. She's in a band. She sings with her brother's band, and so when you engaged her about music and singing and expressing herself through that, she was all in on that. She loved that conversation. She was having a good time with that.
I think that people are more proud of things that you probably don't know of or lesser known stuff, right? Like I said, that road that they traveled to get to that part,
right?
It's not. Like, that stuff was, for the most part, probably the easier part of their journey, right? That's where they made it or what have you. But what if there's people have interests, people have stuff outside of that, and so I think that
when artist Ken Lashley was in town last year for FC3. He was on the radio. He did the Wii show with us, and he did.
He was here like forever that morning.
He wound up doing John DiTullio and Bill Moran show
cool.
to talk. And he loves sports, NFL football, college football. And he wound up talking sports for like an hour and a half on the radio with these guys. And afterwards, he goes to me, that was a bucket list dream to do sports radio.
That's great.
I love that.
Oh, that is great.
And he thanked me for letting him to do that. Go, dude, you got to be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
No kidding. I think part of it is giving the guests that come in just a little taste of Rochester was the other joy of that Walter and Karen and Gigi had garbage plates that we sent out. We sent one of our volunteers out to go and get. And then Walter's
you got him a real Nick Tahoe's garbage plate, right?
I think
they were closed. I think it was Stevie T's.
So it's same branch of the same tree.
But it was like Walter Jones Instagramming that he is
with a garbage plate.
With a garbage plate and posting it right then and there. That was
They're all humans. They're all human beings.
That was like one of the best things.
Sometimes you forget that, when you get caught up in like, when I see Ed rolling from Collective Soul, I'm like, oh my God. But you forget there's a human being behind that persona.
And the fact that they wouldn't let us buy their lunches. Mm-hmm. And that Karen bought her PA's lunch that day.
Yeah.
That Karen Ashley ended up
classy.
But she's like, no, she's been working with me all this weekend. I'm buying her lunch. We're like, no, we're buying your lunch. She's like, oh, no, you're not going to fight me on this. I'm like, okay. And it's like the same thing with Ken. I was trying to reimburse him. He's like, no. And Susan's like, walk away, Tanya. Yeah. Just walk away.
Just walk away.
I'm like, okay. When can you come back? Mm-hmm. That type of thing. So,
but just the thing I hope that we cultivate, or at least maintain, with what we're doing with Flower City Comic Con, is that we never forget that we're fans too. That we're, we look at it with the same eyes that the people who pay the tickets do, and then you want to make sure that you connect with these actors and these writers and these artists as the human beings they are. So it's when we say where it all comes together, we talk about genres and stuff like that, but it's also personalities and attitudes and the outlooks and things like that as well. So just kind of be a little poetic end to the conversation, but just making sure that you don't just see the character, you see the person under the makeup. And so these are opportunities we're looking for. Just know that we're just as excited as everybody out there is to meet these people, and we're enthusiastic about bringing all this other stuff to the table. So anybody got any last thoughts on this one?
Dan's gonna fanboy.
If Dan's going to fanboy, it'll be Debbie Gibson, who he has met on at least a dozen occasions.
Isn't he a huge Battlestar Galactica fan?
He is a Battlestar Galactica fan. I know he's looking forward to meeting Richard Hatch in May.
So.
But I think you're going to see an equal amount of excitement from him in, like when I say for Felicia Day. Not because she's just an attractive redhead, but because she is that really, it's a good contact because she looks at everything she does from a very real, grounded perspective.
I loved her in the Guild.
She's a nerd just like the rest of us. Yeah, she's a fan.
I think, closing thought for me, I think something that would be important for us is to make sure that we highlight how much Rochester has to offer, and not just in the artists, but, like we talked about, I don't know if you guys realize there is a huge adult comic section at the library. There's also a huge comic selection at the library right here.
What do you mean adult?
Like Watchmen,
graphic novels, things like that.
Those are still
not that type of adult. Where are you going?
Not Backdoor Business 7.
Guys, this isn't the midnight show.
Well, but some racy stuff. There's some racy stuff, but
we did go R-rated earlier today.
Yes, we did.
But they've taken time to curate that stuff here in Rochester, and that's big.
Actually, the librarian downstairs at the main library here is a huge comic book
Sandy,
fan.
yep.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love talking with her.
Yep.
Her name is what?
Sandy.
Sandy at the library.
Yeah. Sandy at the library?
Sandy at the library, huge comic book fan.
She's amazing.
We're going to bring Sandy from the library into one of these conversations
She's
someday.
She'll, we'll talk about that. She
Absolutely
definitely would be a huge benefit for us. But just the fact that some of us sitting at this table didn't know that kind of, is, I think, if anybody left the Comic-Con and didn't know that moving forward, I would feel like we didn't do our job tying in the things that we have here, that there's a huge superhero thing going on, at the National Toy Hall of Fame.
That's in March.
Yeah, we're going to be there.
No. I mean,
just in general.
Just in general.
Yeah. Just in general. Oh, okay.
But they're going to highlight one in March.
We took Ken there last year.
Good.
His girls loved it.
Yeah.
Make sure that people know that this is the garbage plate. To make sure that people understand the culture
and the white hots
that comes. Yeah, sure.
I love white hots.
Yeah. But I think that it would just be if we weren't highlighting what made us who we are, why we're doing this, why people should come here. I think that's like super important. Knowing that one of the artists of Captain America, original artists of Captain America, is from Rochester.
Joe Simon.
All that kind of stuff is just, I think, really should be a high priority for us. In what we do.
Absolutely, that is a great final thought. Wayne, how about you? Any closing comments? Any closing thoughts on this one?
No.
Tony? Nah, we're good.
I talked enough.
Billy,
my head's spinning. There's just so much going on.
Is Wayne going to be on a panel or anything?
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
We should be.
We'll talk about it.
Ask about panels.
So
we're going to talk about that.
If we could get that beanie with the
propeller.
Everybody has propeller beanie. No.
Everybody has a propeller beanie.
We'll find one.
We'll find one for you.
I got one. I don't need to find one.
There you go. No, we do because I don't have one.
Oh.
So. We're gonna sit in the front row while you're talking and just twing.
I think just like last year, we need to have a panel of all
just
of us.
Yeah.
Other than our.
Well, the draft panel schedule should probably be released by the time this podcast airs, so we'll figure that out. Anyway, because version 2 of the panel schedule is actually underway at the moment, so we'll make sure we're
version 1's done.
Version 1's done. It's going to be published soon, so that everybody sees Tweaking it. All right, so there we have it.
We're waiting for the outtake music.
And as soon as that kicks in,
okay.
Here we go. Here we go.
He said he was talking enough.
Ba-boom.
Oh, no.
So, that's all right. We still have you.
There it is.
Okay, so for the gang, for Jason, Wayne, Tony, Tanya, Billy, and myself, this is Chris from the studios at WFC3. That's been Monkey Business for yet another, hour or so, whatever. Glad you were with us. As always, we love listening. Love talking to you. I hope you love listening to us. So anyway, this has been Monkey Business, a production of Mighty Monkey Productions, creators and founders of the Flower City Comic-Con, having its second show May 20th and 21st of 2017 at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. Follow us on Facebook. Like us if you haven't already. www.facebook.com/FC3ROC. And we will see you again next week.
You didn't have to close your eyes this time.
I'm getting better at that. I'm starting to memorize the script.
Yeah.
Good on me.